Welcome everyone to the Hobby Desk. So today I'm going to be talking about the Chaos Spawn on the left hand side. So both are converted, and the one on the right hand side I kept pretty much the same as the original kit. I have modified a Gene Stealer arm and a few bits like that, and green stuffed a little bit of like fur on its back to make it look a bit more bestial. But the one on the left, I wanted to make something Nurgle-ish to fit in with my colour scheme of my Chaos Beasts, so I can use them any Chaos army that I have. Now, I didn't want to make it green and pussy and entrails everywhere like you would normally get on a Chaos Nurgle model. I want to make it a bit more universal, but a nod too. What do I mean by that? Well, if you ever played Warcry or seen any Warcry miniatures, you don't look at one and go, yes, that's definitely Nurgle, classic Nurgle, guts hanging out, pus, boils, things like that. Classic greenish colour scheme. But each one is kind of linked to a Chaos God without standing out in the classic Warhammer game. Yes, that's definitely a Corn worshipper because it's got symbols all over it, or that's definitely Slaanesh because it's got multiple nipple piercings or whatever. So, I've already made 3 Chaos Spawn. Now, in the Chaos Spawn kit that's currently out, it is a bit dated. There's lots and lots of arms, lots and lots of different options. I just feel the core of the model, the base of the model, the main body, is very limited. Because they've got the same kind of pose on both models. And if you have multiple of them, you know, the legs are raised in the same position. They're standing on that little tuft. And they all look a bit similar. Now, I don't like samey models. I like models that are slightly different. But that being said, I wanted to have a nice unit, some different options, so 5 or 6 models maybe. And I want them to, yes, look all different, but the same kind of paint scheme. So I like the dead looking flesh with a slight bit of a purple wash. So I'm going to go with that to tie them all kind of in together. So they're all slightly different. One has a crab claw that I've made previously on a previous video with spider legs. I'll put the link to that in the description below. That seemed quite popular. A lot of people at a local club liked it, so I made a video and put that up back along. And I'm pretty chuffed about it. So a little bit of a nid part here or there, because they're bestial, obviously. And I'm not massively good with green stuff. I can make fur, I can make beards, hair, fill in any gaps, things like that. And I thought to myself, well, I've never made a model from scratch. Now, House Chaos John has given me a few armatures before, skeletal figures, and you can bend into a certain position and start adding flesh to it. By flesh, I mean green stuff, not actual flesh, because that would be a bit odd. So you do that and you build it up, like the main basic framework, like the muscle structure, things like that, and then you can add detail like faces and things like that. But I wanted to make something slightly paunchy. It was lockdown after all, and I was starting to look a bit like a Chaos Spawn myself. Take that any way you want. So I thought, I'll give it a go. So I was trawling through the internet, looking at a few images, and I came across this. Now this, I think, is from Vermintide. I've never played the game myself, and I thought, that's pretty cool. I could go with something along those lines. You can see that it's not the classic green Nurgly kind of paint scheme you normally get, like the Nurglings, bloat drones. But you can tell that it's that kind of Chaos God it's leaning towards. Spawn aren't symmetrical. They are bestial, but they're not symmetrical. It's completely Chaos incarnate. You might have tentacles on one side, a big arm on the other side. So it was really difficult for me to make something that was not symmetrical. So I like the look of the fact that this thing, it's got a big gaping slash down one side. It's also a maul. And I thought, I like that kind of idea. So yeah, first thing I would say is research. If you're going to make a model from scratch, research, get a few images, a few pictures. I did have loads to choose from, kept them in my gallery. But this is the one that inspired me the most. So as I started building my armature, which is basically I drilled a couple of holes in the base, put a paperclip through, made the basic arch of a leg, like so. Then I made an upright for the back, basically, and I was going to build from there. So I thought, what am I going to do? I want it to be slightly paunchy. I want elephant trunk kind of stumpy legs. So I started wrapping green stuff around and quickly realised this is going to take a lot of green stuff and it's going to be really, really, really heavy. So I needed to bulk it up fast, super light, and plus that much green stuff is going to be a lot of money. So I thought foil. Start wrapping foil around the legs, start building it up, and do this yourself. You know, start creating some basic shape of a model. This is a bit slender, really. It was a bit like a pickle shape. It's like Chaos Pickle Rick. So it was a start. It was a start in the right direction, and I knew roughly what I wanted. So I started adding green stuff on top of the foil, which I could sculpt. Now, you could always stipple with brushes and things like that to give definition and texture. But in my head, I didn't want to be quite the same as the previous picture. I wanted it to be more rotund, rounder, and have rolls of flesh rather than speckled, spotty, oozing kind of flesh. Not crazy Nurgle, just a fat blob, a fat mess. So I was trolling through my bits boxes and something with a bit of texture, a bit of detail, so it's not just completely round in rolls of fat. I'm thinking an acne riddled back, like because it's not really gonna have much of a face, this thing, in my head. I was thinking very much like the face in that Vermintide picture. So that's initially what I was going to go with, but I found a Gene Stealer spine bank bit in one of my many bits boxes, and I cut off the edges so the carapace wasn't quite so spiky and obvious, heated it up slightly and bent it and curved it. Started adding green stuff, and you can see I started scoping his little cheeky butt here, and then of course I add to this to make it look a little bit less cheeky and a little bit more lardy. Like I said, based on my COVID body, my lockdown body. So I like the stumpy elephant legs, that kind of thing. So I did start adding toes to the model, and I did like initially the idea of like the little tarpy, little loincloth, but because he's so low to the ground, I thought it's going to be tiny. You know, it didn't really work. It kind of takes a little bit away from the model, so I left that out. So this beast, you don't know. It could be wearing Speedos. It could be wearing a little loincloth. You can't tell because it's got rolls of fat. But I did start adding toes to this stage. So I just basically put little sausages of green stuff on the bottom of the base and join them to the stumps. And then with a sharpened toothpick, started drawing out some detail like crusty and cracked toenails. And at this stage, I did add original Chaos Spawn arm to one side, but I thought it was a little bit ropey and didn't really match the rest of the model. So I did start building up top of the arm to make it look a bit more bulky. And I like the look of it because the bottom part of the arm looks more sinewy and completely chaos, nothing like the rest of it. So I started hunching it up a little bit more, adding more green stuff to the back of this thing, and when the green stuff was still relatively soft, I started making the basic shape for the big slash down the side, the big maul, what it was going to be. So I had a few tentacle bits from the Chaos Spawn kit still left over, and you can tell there were those Genestealer fans, so those Tyranid fans. You can see there is a Tyranid piece there as well, that little grey bit of plastic in the middle. And yes, you may notice a lighter in the background and some wet and dry. It's wet and dry to smooth out any fingerprints that may be in this thing. And you can tell there is different shades of green stuff because I've added this at different evenings. It was an ongoing project. But the lighter was to heat up the tentacles and change the shape of them. I mean, the original shape looks like it was reaching out. It's not bad. It's not bad at all, but I just kind of want to curl it up a bit more. And I was just thinking like John Carpenter's The Thing, something a bit creepy, loads of tentacles ripping from the inside of this creature in a weird chaos manner, which is what I was aiming towards. Now I found this Tyranid bit and I thought it would be pretty cool for the face, not too dissimilar to the Vermintide face. I thought that would be pretty cool. Trouble is, when you put it on the model, it did stand out quite far and it looked a bit more beaky. So I did think about maybe cutting it off and sticking directly on. But it was bigger than I thought. The scale wasn't right. Maybe if it was smaller, it wouldn't be a problem. So in the end, I went with this lovely face, which is a classic face from one of the Demon Prince kits, to make more of a nurgly face. So it's like a fly face, almost with an elephanty trunk, and I thought it kind of matched with the legs, but without being too, that's definitely an elephant. I wanted it still to be a bit chaosy and random. Now you notice there is a couple of beads on its belly, and the couple of beads, basically, it's what I use for my rivets. So if you've seen any of my rivet making videos, or my terrain making videos, especially with industrial terrain, love my rivets. So use a very small drill bit, drill a tiny hole, tiny bit of PVA glue, with a pair of tweezers, drop one of these in, look perfect for rivets. And I thought this would be great for a few little clusters of like pussy boils, especially in clumps of 3, because there's a little nod to Nurgle there. And plus it matches any of the boily bits on its trunk. So I didn't want a completely smooth body and then like a pussy trunk. I wanted all the model to kind of tie in together, but still looking chaosy and random, which is what I did. So all of them, like I said, had a bit of a purple wash to it. So basically I zenithal highlighted this model, so I sprayed it black, rattle canned it black, and then from above just blasted a white at about a 45-degree angle to give some shades. So use any white you would like, and then I used a Drushi Violet colour and just heavily washed this model, and then slowly built up in stages and get brighter with a little bit of Rakkar flesh, and thinned it out a little bit. So the higher levels had a couple more thin coats on than the lower levels, so the purple still shone through. And then I added a bit more pallid witch flesh as I went, so picking out a bit of detail. So unfortunately this isn't the best picture at the end here, but it's not bad. And I just made some of the details pop out a little bit more. Now you may notice this teeth on the maul. Now I could have put more teeth on, but I didn't want it to be crazy riddled with teeth. I just wanted it to be like a split open, pussy saw with tentacles coming out and teeth forming. You could go teeth crazy, and all these are tiny bits of toothpick and things like that, just stuck in, tease the surrounding area to make it look more like the teeth are coming out of gums rather than it's just all one piece. So it's important to make it look like the teeth are a bony, enamel-y kind of thing, and then you got the fleshy bit around, so it's not the same kind of texture. But that's just what I was aiming for. And that's it really. And as you do notice, there are a couple of nipples on there as well. Now I use like craft pens from pound stores. like it's a gel pen that will dry hard. I believe mainly you use it in like hobbycraft, cards, nail tech, things like that. So you paint people's nails with it and you leave wavy lines. And I've also used that before my industrial terrain as weld. So on plates of metal, it looks fantastic as weld. So I just put a couple of little dots on there. It dries hard. You can't file it very much or anything, but I didn't want massively smooth nipples on this thing. I thought its chest was too smooth. And you notice I did make a little belly button for it as well. So not too many sores and pusses and things like that, but it still looks Nurgle-esque. So this is the first model I've ever made that is, let's say 75% green stuff and the rest of it's plastic. So you've got plastic arm, plastic trunk face, plastic tentacles, and some spines on the back from a Carnifex. The rest of it is all green stuffed, and I left texture. I didn't leave it super smooth. So when I was using the wet and dry paper, I did smooth out any fingerprints, but I left creases and rolls, and you can see where the moobs meet the belly. There are some wrinkles there as well. Didn't leave it perfectly smooth. Want a bit of cellulite. So that's how I made this model. I thought I would do this video, and I'm sorry I didn't do it at the time because I'm a hobby butterfly, basically. I started this, like I said, way back in lockdown, and I've added to it every now and again, in between painting Marines, in between painting Tyranids, Marvel Crisis Protocol. Really need to stick to one thing, paint it, and move on. But it was always looking at me and I didn't know how to progress with it, so I thought one day, just get on with it. Just add something to it, see where it takes you. So I had a kind of a plan. I knew the colour scheme I was aiming for, which was very much like the Vermintide colour scheme, which is a happy coincidence because I've already painted 3 of these guys before starting on these 2. So it fit quite well. And I wanted to be muty, almost kind of grimdark colours. So nothing too crazy vibrant and sticking out. But I've seen loads of Chaos Spawn conversions out there. People do a wonderful job. So one of the local guys, Luke Workman, he's used like the bloat drones, the bloat flies from AOS. So took the riders off, converted them, and made a whole unit. But he does play Death Guard, so it is right that they all look very Death Guardy. But for me personally, I've got a Death Guard army, which I've never painted actually, but one day. I've painted a few tanks and things like that, but not as a whole army, not a playable force anyway. Just models that grab my attention. But I do have World Eaters, and a fairly sizable list. About 3,000 points of World Eaters. So I wanted Chaos Spawn that would work with World Eaters and any other Chaos faction in the future that I might do. I'm certainly looking at painting up Abaddon, and of course Abaddon can't just be on a battlefield on his own. He needs his entourage, so I might as well start painting some Black Legion as well. But that's just me, hobby butterflying again. But yeah, just have some fun. You know, a Chaos Spawn model doesn't need to be symmetrical. If you're gonna green stuff a model from scratch and you don't really care what it looks like and you want to hone your skills, practice your skills, and you've never done green stuffing before, you want to try beards, you want to try fur, then why not start with a Chaos Spawn? Because it doesn't really matter what it looks like at the end. It's a spawn. It's completely chaos. It's completely random. Doesn't have to be symmetrical. But I am glad I used foil, so that's a very good tip, and definitely use paper clips to make it nice and strong, because green stuff will sag. Plus if you use a lot of green stuff, it might not cure properly, and also the weight and the cost. Foil costs next to nothing. So once again, a video of me completely rambling. I hope this made sense. Please leave any comments in the description below, asking me any tips and tricks. If this looks terrible to you, that's great, because I'm aiming for terrible. I was aiming for a complete mess of a model, and just having a bit of fun. It's a little bit cheeky. It's got a bit of a paunchy belly, bit of a cheeky butt, and unfortunately you can't see the nails too much in this picture, but I'm really chuffed with the nails. They're not just smooth, they have got cracks in it, and they look great. Really chuffed with the nails, and that's the bit you probably can't see the most in the picture. But hopefully you'll see these guys in a 40k battle report soon, so keep an eye out. Well, thank you for watching. Please hit the like button if you haven't done already, and please subscribe for some more great hobby content. Take care, everyone.